So, welcome to Gentle Restorative Yoga. If you haven't already, take a comfortable seat, whatever that means to you, and close your eyes. Take a nice deep inhale through the nose and a cleansing exhale through the mouth. Inviting in peace and a little bit of internal stillness, letting everything else go. Take another deep inhale. Loud exhale. And then go ahead and inhale the arms all the way up above you. Bring the palms together and exhale your hands home to your heart in prayer pose. We're going to chant Shanti, the world needs peace. I'll chant it 4 times. The first time, just listen in case you haven't heard it before. The last 3, you chime in with me. Don't worry about it. Nobody else can hear you, so it's all good. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And go ahead and take a moment to set your intention for your practice, for your evening, and the day beyond. When you're done, simply release your hands. We're going to inhale the arms all the way up. Interlace the fingers and take the hands behind the head, drawing the elbows back, sitting up tall, watching the arch in the low back, so draw the stomach in a little bit. So we're going to do seated cat-cow just like this. So inhale, sit up nice and tall. Elbows are pulling back gently. Exhale, elbows come forward together as you round out the spine and drop the head. Inhale, open it up. Exhale, round it out. Inhale, open. Exhale, cat pose, round it out. Start to slow down the breath. Do that 3 more times at your pace. I'm on my last one, but don't hurry. We have all the time in the world here. When you finish, sit back up and release the arms. Perfect. Inhale the arms up. And then exhale them straight out from the shoulders. We're going to open up the palms. Slowly pull the thumbs back. Keep the arms straight, just a little bit. You'll start to feel the shoulder blades drawing in towards each other a little. Make sure the shoulders haven't risen to hold up your head for you. Slide them back and down. So now from here, I'm going to slowly drop the arms. And then when the fingers touch the ground, just turn the hands over so the palms are down. So I have my fingers on the earth beside me. My arms are just slightly back. From here, I want to lengthen up through the spine and the back of the neck, and then drop the right ear to the right shoulder. So begin to deepen the breath. We are going to work on some breath control today. Perfect. Stay as you are. You still have the head tipped to the right. The only thing you're changing is take your chin and now draw it down towards the right shoulder. So your head will rotate a little bit, but it's still tipping to the right. We've got to figure out a way to wring the tension out of our neck somehow, right? One more breath here. Good job. Keep the fingers where they are. Slowly bring the head back to center. Inhale, lengthen through the spine up to the crown of the head. Exhale, the left ear to the left shoulder. You might notice that one side is a little tighter than the other. That's okay. We're just acknowledging, sending the breath there. Perhaps if you're lucky, you're totally balanced and both sides felt exactly the same. Okay, so remember, we're keeping the head tilted. We're just going to take the chin and allow it to draw over towards the left shoulder. And then peacefully bring the head back to center. Inhale, take the arms up. Bring the palms together and release them to your heart. So from here, let's grab some props. If you have a bolster and blocks and maybe a blanket, grab all that. If you don't have any of that, a blanket, a couple throw pillows off the couch, pillow off your bed, doesn't matter. And so we're going to keep the legs either in Sukhasana, which is easy pose, cross-legged, or I just always prefer Siddhasana, so that just means the knees go wider and the ankles line up, whatever works for you. And then we're setting up a restorative fold in front of us. So I'm going to need some props out in front of me. So maybe if you have blocks, you put those down and then the bolster on top. Only you know how tall this tower needs to be, right? And so we could throw a few blankets there. Heck, if the dog is participating with you, lay on the dog. It is all good. In fact, I can hear mine with a bone outside my door, not happy that I kicked him out. Anyway, when you're ready, sit up tall, bring the hands forward, and go ahead and just come into a super comfortable fold, closing your eyes, relaxing your head. Remember, if your fold doesn't seem to go anywhere, that's okay. What that means is you're going to get creative with your props. Okay, you could take that bolster and put it at an angle towards you so you can just lean your chin on it, right? We're all at home right now. You might have a chair next to you. You could just bring that chair in front of you and rest your head. It's all fair. So find a place that's comfortable for you. Close your eyes. And then let me tell you this little, well, I would say it's a Buddhist story. Some might say it's a Buddhist joke. I'll leave that up to you. You can, let me know your opinion later. But as the story goes, a student approached his master saying, Master, I am so tired of focusing on my breath. The breath just goes in and out, in and out. I am so bored. I need something more interesting to focus on. And the master said, I can see that. Why don't you come with me? And so the student followed the master to a river. And the master grabbed the student by his head and shoved his head under the water. And at first there were a lot of bubbles, and then the bubbles started to get a little less and a little less, and that's when the master pulled the student's head back out, and the student was stammering and sputtering, and the master said, "How bored are you by your breath now?" So now you can see why I said you'll either find that funny or just a horrible, horrible story. But here's the point. You know, what the master was trying to show the student was that there are different ways to look at the breath. And I want you to take that analogy off your yoga mat. There are different ways to look at the obstacles in our world. And I choose to not usually use the word obstacle. I use it when I am referencing Ganesh, our deity of removing obstacles, but I prefer the word challenges. And so I think when you're in a yoga pose, and you might be in it right now because folds are not for everybody. They can make the mind go a little crazy. Consider it to not be an obstacle. You might not even have to consider it to be a challenge, because guess what? You don't have to stay in that pose. And so there are so many different ways around these challenges. And I'm hoping that today's theme kind of opens that up for you a little bit. Take a deep breath where you're at. Let it go. Sink just a tad deeper. And then use your hands to walk your way back up. Ah, perfect. Go ahead and set the props off to the side for a moment. Let's go ahead and stretch the legs out in front of us. So if you have a strap and you want to use it, this would be the time to grab it. You certainly don't need one. If the hamstrings are really tight, you're adding a soft bend under the knees. What you could also do if you grabbed a blanket from somewhere is, slide that under the knees to make them more comfortable. Completely up to you. Remember, your practice is about a series of choices, and you're the choice master. So I'm just making suggestions. You are not aimlessly following. You're listening to your body. You're practicing ahimsa, nonviolence, and doing what is right for you. So having said all that, stretch the legs out in front of you. And if you have chosen not to bend the knees, then I want you to actively push the backs of the thighs down towards the earth for a moment. Feet are flexed. So if you are using a strap, let's go ahead and put that around the ball of both feet and sit up tall. If you're not using a strap, hands by your hips in staff pose, dandasana, so we can just sit up tall here, and we're closing the eyes. Remember, you don't need the props. I'll always give you a variation. So take a deep inhale, cleansing exhale. If you're using your strap, pull on it a little bit, lengthen the spine, start to make your way down into a fold. If you're not using a strap, let's get the hands walking forward, lengthen through the spine. Especially in the first few folds, you might want to just pause somewhere, move around, do some wiggling, link the movement with the breath. Once things loosen up, it seems a little easier to get a little lower, right? So take a few moments here. And then just find that place where you can settle into that fold for a moment, finding stillness instead of a lot of movement. Good job. Deep breath in. As you exhale, slowly make your way back up. Set the strap aside if you were using it. Hug the knees in towards the heart. You can let the spine round out a little bit. Set the chin down on the knees, perhaps. Nice. So keeping the knees bent, I'm going to keep my right arm in front of both legs, left hand behind me for some support. You want to keep the thighs together and the knees together. As we take a twist, try not to let the knees go with you. So option A, right arm is in front. Option B, right arm comes to the outside of the left thigh. If I take this option, I want to make sure the knees don't go in the other direction. I want the knees aiming up towards the ceiling. So whatever you have to do to accommodate that is all good. Option C would be to take the right fingertips to the earth. So play around. Maybe we start out with option A and just kind of see where that goes. Sit up nice and tall. Exhale, take that twist to the left. So if you're in option A and you're thinking, yeah, I could use a little bit more, take that right arm in front or on the side of that left thigh. Maybe the fingertips come down to graze the earth. If you need to look back and see where your knees are, just check them out. Make sure they're pointing straight up and then turn back to look over that left shoulder. One more breath here. When you get to an exhale, slowly release the twist. Switch arms. Right hand's going behind you. Let that left arm start out by grabbing the legs, and then again, you decide which option you want to take. Inhale, sit up nice and tall. Exhale, take that twist to the right. Decide which option your arm wants to be in. Look at the knees, make sure they're pointing straight up, and then turn to look over that right shoulder. Strong breath in. Exhale. Release the twist. Perfect. And then we're coming down on our, that's my left side. We're coming down on the left side. I'm going to stretch my left arm straight out ahead of my crown, rest my left ear on the upper left arm. And then I'm going to bend the knees and bring them in towards me. Close your eyes here for just a moment. Discover the breath. I'm sure after that story I told you, you're finding your breath very interesting. Now, go ahead and take the right hand behind your head. My elbow is facing straight up to the ceiling. When you get to an inhale, let the right elbow pull back. So I'm just tipping my head back into that hand. You might feel like you're going to fall off of that bottom arm. It's okay. Even if you do drop your head all the way to the floor, it's fine. You don't have to go that far. And then as I slowly exhale, I'm coming back the way I started, but I will continue forward. So I'm just going to let the head drop to the earth. Maybe that right elbow comes all the way down. Super slow inhale, opening up that top arm, bringing it somewhere behind you. It doesn't have to go far. Super slow exhale, bringing that elbow all the way to the ground in front of you. Do that 2 more times. when you finish that last one, recenter the head. I still have my right hand behind my head. My right elbow is still facing up toward the ceiling. From here, I want you to keep the knees together, but I want you to lift the right foot into the air. So that might seem just a little weird, but it's okay. All right, now lift the head up off that bottom arm. Here's your inhale. The right foot and the right elbow trying to, get towards each other. They're not going to come close, but they've both lifted on the inhale. Exhale, head and foot back down. Inhale. This is a really slow movement. Exhale it down. One more time. As you come back down, straighten out that top arm along with that bottom arm. Take the hands into Agni Mudra. So Agni Mudra is palms together, interlace all the fingers, but then uninterlace the two index fingers. They're pointing straight ahead. So Agni Mudra means fire. Just a little bit of fire and heat to this pose. Reaching the arms overhead. Close your eyes. Be with the breath for a moment. One more inhale. Big exhale. Untangle the fingers. Bring that right hand back to the mat. I'm going to stretch out my legs. Perfect. Roll onto your back and hug the knees in. Go ahead and let the left hand sit on the left knee. The right hand sits on the right knee. Inhale. The arms straighten out as the knees push into the hands. Exhale. Pull the knees back in toward the ribs. Inhale. Straighten out the arms. Exhale. Pull them back in. One more. See how slow you can possibly make this. When you're ready, go ahead and roll onto your right side. So remember, we stretched out that bottom arm. And then go ahead and bend the knees 90 degrees. They'll support you. And just close your eyes for a moment. We certainly don't always have to be moving. Okay, when you're ready, take that left hand behind the head, left elbow pointing toward the ceiling. Remember, on the inhale, we let that elbow, the top one, pull back behind us. Pay attention to your back and your spine so you're not going farther than you should. Your exhale will slowly bring you back through that starting point and then forward until that left elbow touches the ground in front of you. Slow inhale, opening lifting that arm back up. Remember, no pain in yoga. Make any changes you need to. Keep going, following your breath. This is meant to be a very slow, peaceful transition, or vinyasa, if you will. Let's make this our last one. When you're ready, you'll come back to our starting point with that left elbow pointing up towards the ceiling. And then remember, we glued the knees together. I want you just to lift that left foot and ankle into the sky. And then go ahead and lift the head off that bottom arm. So here's your inhale, deep breath in. Exhale, leg and head go down. Keep going, slow this movement down. We'll make that the last one. When you're done, stretch that top arm along with the bottom arm, Agni Mudra. Remember, fingers interlace except the index fingers. And close your eyes. On your next exhale, release the hands. Bring the left hand to the earth in front of you. And push into the ground to slowly make your way back up. Perfect. Well, we came back up to grab some props because I think it's time for something restorative, don't you? So let's set up something like, and make do with what you have. If you have blocks or something to build upon and you have a bolster, we're going to prop the bolster at its far end up on those blocks. These are going to be in front of you, so I am going to turn to face this. If you have other props or a cocktail table happens to be in front of you, what we're ultimately heading towards is our legs are going up this bolster. So if you don't have any props, you can put your feet up on a cocktail table, an end table, a couch, a chair. What else we got? The dog. Whatever's in front of you that you can at least get the legs going up. And I'm just going to scooch as close to my bolster as I can, send the legs on up the bolster, and lay back. So what I want you to notice is what happens if you completely relax your legs. Are they going to fall off the bolster? And if your answer is yes, I have two ideas for you. The first one is I like to cross one ankle over the other because it holds the legs in place. But if you prefer not to do that, you could come back up. Grab your strap, put it under the bolster, and then tie your legs right in place so they can't move. So totally up to you. We're just laying back. Arms can go wherever you want them. And close your eyes. So of course, I have another story for you. Don't worry, this one is has nothing to do with shoving somebody's head underwater to see if they can learn to appreciate their breath. This one is also a Buddhist story. It's called The Cracked Pot, and it's about this old woman who she had to walk down to the river to get her water every day. And so she had one of those poles that they put across your shoulder, and then a bucket hangs from each end of the pole, right? Well, one of her buckets is perfectly functioning. It is well sealed. It doesn't have any holes in it. The other bucket has a crack in it. And so when the woman makes her journey back from the river to her house, by the time she gets to her house, she has 1.5 buckets of water. This goes on day after day after day. The bucket that is completely sealed, doesn't have any cracks or holes in it, it's really proud of itself. It's really proud of its ability to fulfill what it thinks is its function. The other bucket, the one with the crack in it, it's pretty sad. It feels like it's totally letting this woman down, and it mentions that to her one day. And her response to this bucket is, you and I have been making this trip for 2 years. Do you think I have not noticed this flaw? And I want to stop there for a moment, so that I want to put the word flaw in quotes, because I really want to come back to that word. But I will proceed. That is the word that's used in the story. She said, have you not noticed that when we make the trip back from the river to the house, there are only flowers growing on your side of the path? And that's because I always knew that you had a crack in you. And so that's the side of the path I planted flower seeds along. You've been watering them every day. And it's because of you that I can go out and pick flowers whenever I want them. So I chose that story because I want you to connect that with the Sanskrit word ahimsa, which we talk about all the time, right? It is translated to non-harming or non-violence. What it means on your yoga mat is you are totally paying attention to your body. You are never doing a pose that's not right for you. You are not staying in a pose that hurts. You are finding your edge where the stretch is, and that's where you linger. And in restorative yoga, we're not even getting to edges usually. So it's all about you and what you need your practice to be. If you feel like your pose doesn't look the way it should, or it doesn't look like somebody else's, I might have you think about these buckets, right? The bucket that doesn't have holes thinks it's doing everything fabulous. And the one with the crack thinks it's flawed. And in truth, it might be the other way around, because it kind of sounds like the bucket that doesn't have any holes has kind of an ego thing going on, right? And there's no ego in yoga. So doing what we can possibly do on any given day with the body we have is exactly what your practice should be about. And as we go through these weird, challenging times, I need you to think about that as well. As long as you're doing the best you can with what you can possibly do at any given moment, how could you ask for more? I'll leave you with that rhetorical question. Take a deep inhale, hold the breath. Keep holding. Keep holding. Huge exhale. If you have one ankle crossed over the other, switch which leg is on top for a moment. One more strong inhale. Cleansing exhale. Perfect. So if you do have your legs up on a bolster, let's go ahead and get the feet back on the ground. If your legs are propped up on something else, bring them back to the earth. Those of us with props between our feet, get one foot across so you can roll into a fetal position. And we'll just hang out here for a moment before we come up to move those off the mat. And then gently push your way back up. Perfect. Move the props off your mat if you've got them there. Move the dog off your mat if that was your prop. And then make sure you have a little bit of room on both sides of you. We're coming down onto our backs, but I will have you come down further on the right side of your mat so we have more room to turn to our left, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, it will once we get there. So come on down onto your back. You're more on the right side of your mat. Go ahead and hug the knees in Apanasana. Okay, so from here, I want you to straighten out that left leg. Keep hugging the right knee in. We're going to open out the left arm straight out from the shoulder. The right arm, you can either open it out to your side as well or take it into scarecrow, or you could let that arm come down alongside you. It doesn't matter. The right knee is coming across the body in a supine twist. So right now you're thinking, what the heck was the big deal? Plenty of room here, right? Just settle into that twist for a moment. Remember, right shoulder, no matter where you put that arm, needs to stay down on the floor. You could put a prop for the moment underneath that right knee to hold it up if you need to. If you can't keep the right shoulder down, which you could also do, if I have a prop nearby, is, grab something that's a little bit weighted, maybe your blanket, and put it on your right shoulder as kind of a reminder. Sometimes those little things help. Take a few deep breaths. We're heading somewhere fun. You know I like that word. So before you move, if you know what gecko pose looks like, you're going to have kind of an idea of where I'm going. If you don't, I'm going to describe this to the best of my ability. So I want to keep my left arm where it is. In fact, imagine I've grabbed your left wrist and I'm pulling it towards the camera. So I really want you to lengthen that arm out. The right arm, bring it across, let it find the ground in front of you, wherever. It doesn't matter if it's above or below the left arm, which will more easily bring the right knee down to the earth. From here, I'm going to lift my head. I'm going to start sliding my right knee away from me. It's going to open up my right hip. The right leg will end up in gecko, but the left arm is going to stay trapped underneath our chest. So this is a shoulder stretch as much as a hip opener. If your left shoulder does not like this, we've already talked about ahimsa, right? Listen to the bucket that had the crack and move this arm out from underneath you. If you're okay here, keep going, see if you can push that right hip down. And then you could either bring the head down to the ground, or if it's too far to go, bring the right arm around for a pillow. And close your eyes here. So my intention, of course, is that you find this comfortable and restorative. If those were not the words that you were thinking of, I need you to change the pose. We're going to close the eyes here. If you're lucky, you have a cat, and maybe that cat will jump on the right hip and just gently push you to the earth a little bit more. If you're unlucky, it's a big dog that does that. So I want you to take your focus and your breath to the left shoulder. You know, breathing into its stretch. If you moved that arm, you're still focusing and breathing into that shoulder because we acknowledged compassion and empathy for it. Just a couple more breaths. I don't want to, start losing circulation in that left arm. I don't want you feeling tingling in that left hand. So just one more breath here. And when you get to your exhale, let's take that right hand back to the ground. Let it slowly guide us all the way onto our backs. Once you get there, straighten out both legs, stretch both arms overhead, and just let go. Deep inhale. Exhale, bring the arms back down and scooch on over to the left edge of your mat. We're going to go ahead and hug that left knee in. Keep the right leg straight. When you're ready, open the right arm straight up from the shoulder. Remember, you can do whatever you want to with the left arm, whatever you have room for. Take your supine twist, so left knee goes across the body to the right. Watch that left shoulder. Just close your eyes here. All right, when you're ready, the left hand is coming all the way across. Pause there for a moment. Remember, imagine I've grabbed onto your right wrist and I'm pulling your arm away from you just to lengthen out, give that shoulder some space. When you're ready, continue rolling onto your stomach. You're going to take that left knee, let it slide away from you. You'll be in gecko with the leg. You're going to trap that right arm underneath you. And again, if you need that left arm to come around as a pillow for your head, you can certainly do that, or the head can find its way to the earth. And I'll have you just hang out there for a moment. If that shoulder's not happy, find a place for it to be happy. There is not a way to do a pose incorrectly except for allowing yourself to be in pain. There are no cracked buckets in yoga, so no pose is perfect. They don't all look the same, and this is your practice. Take a couple more breaths here. If that bottom shoulder is still underneath you and it's not happy, we will eventually be rolling onto our backs, and you could totally head there, ahead of me. Okay, one more strong inhale. Exhale, let go of that breath. Go ahead and use that left hand to push against the earth, slowly rolling all the way onto your back. Stretch out the legs again. Take the arms overhead and just soften. When you're ready, go ahead and roll to a fetal position. And then slowly push your way back up. We're coming back to Sukhasana or Siddhasana. If you don't really like sitting like this, change it up. It doesn't matter actually how you're sitting right now, or you might want to draw your blanket just underneath your hips. We're working on some pranayama, so the breath. So if you want to be in a completely different position, I am so good with that. I did want to point out to you guys, I'm wearing my Ellen DeGeneres Be Kind tank top because it goes with our story of ahimsa. It goes with the story of the bucket, maybe not so much the guy being drowned to prove a point, but we're working on some Ujjayi breath, and if it's new to you, I need you to be kind to yourself. So, having said that, close your eyes. Allow your focus just to drift to the breath for a moment. Don't change it, just let it be. So for those of you who know Ujjayi breathing, victory breath, go ahead, jump on in. Tune me out. For those of you who have never heard this word and no idea what I'm talking about, stay with me for a moment so I can explain it to you. One of the easiest ways to learn Ujjayi breathing is to close your mouth, take your tongue to the roof of your mouth and hold it there. Inhale through the nose, and as you exhale it, you're saying, ha, but you're keeping the mouth closed. And that's going to force your exhale into the back of the throat where it's constricted. Some people refer to this as a Darth Vader breath because it has a very loud sound to it, or it will once you get the hang of it. If it's new to you, I suggest only doing Ujjayi on the exhale until you get used to it. The inhale is kind of like trying to inhale through a straw. It's very slow and constricted, and it's a little bit more challenging. So give it a shot. It's a very focusing type of breath work. It's heat generating, so there's a little bit of work to it. And you're trying to really hear yourself breathe. And if you're not sure you're hearing yourself or you're hearing yourself correctly, what you should try, I was trying this earlier, is if you start to slowly inhale and you think you're constricting, suddenly shift your inhale to your nose. It's completely different. And then try to shift it back into the throat. You will hear and feel the difference. If you don't get it today, it's okay. We're just practicing. Do that 2 more times. When you're finished, just take a couple of natural inhales and exhales. See, that breath wasn't boring, was it? We can change up the breath as many times as we want to. If you didn't like that type of breath control, there's so many others. Perfect. Inhale, take the arms all the way up. Right hand is grabbing the left wrist to pull you to the right. Take the gaze upwards. Good job. Inhale, center. Switch the hands. Exhale to the left, gaze up. Come back to center. Release the arms, shake them out. Perfect. All right. We are coming back down onto our backs. Have one prop nearby. Eventually we'll get into a supported bridge. So if you have a block, grab that. If you have a bolster, if it's a pillow. I really wouldn't suggest the dog or cat here, but I leave that up to you. Come on down. Just have that prop nearby. You don't need it yet. Okay, so the feet are hip distance apart. We're prepping for bridge at the moment. Arms are down alongside you. What I want you to do is lift just the left hip off the mat. Hold it right there. Now push the left shoulder into the ground. Got it? Okay. Inhale. Now lift the right hip level to the left. So you might go all the way up in bridge if you want to. You might only be in like a half bridge, doesn't matter. Left hip is coming back down, then the right hip. Lift the right hip off the mat, push the right shoulder into the ground. Lift the left hip, right hip down, left hip down. Nice. Inhale here. Exhale. Lift the left hip up, left shoulder down. Add the right hip. Bring the left hip down, right hip down. Lift the right hip up. Push the right shoulder into the mat. Lift the left hip, right hip down, left hip down. Perfect. Hug the knees into the heart. Take your left hand. Let's bring it behind the head. Elbows open nice and wide. I'm going to set the right foot down on the mat. Knee is bent, pointing up towards the ceiling. I have my left knee still drawn in towards me. So I'm going to take the right hand on top of the left thigh. When you're ready, I want you to push the hand into the thigh and the thigh pushes back. So a lot of tension there, but you're smiling, you're breathing. Just the hand and the left thigh are working. Keep breathing. Good job. Soften. Inhale, let the thigh push the hand in towards you. Exhale, let the hand push the leg back a little bit. Come back to their centered spot and they both push. Don't let the breath change. Don't hold the breath. Keep pushing, keep pushing. Low back's drawing down to the earth. Left arm is like, so glad this isn't me. Relax. Inhale. Leg pushes the hand in towards you. Exhale. Hand pushes the thigh away from you. Set that left foot down. Arms switch places. So draw that right leg in. Left hand on the right thigh. Take a moment. Get comfortable. When you're ready, have the thigh push into the hand pushes into the thigh. You're still smiling, maybe laughing at the first story, you're still cringing over it, but you're breathing. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Low back down. Relax, inhale, let the thigh push in. Exhale, hand pushes the thigh away. Find their center, their mutual ground, and push, 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 push. Nice strong breath. Maybe you go back to Ujjayi. Good job. Relax. Inhale. Leg pushes in towards you. Exhale. Hand pushes the leg away. Set that foot down. Free the right arm. Grab whatever prop you had near you and lift the hips up. Slide the prop under the sacrum for supported bridge. If you are using a block, you decide at what height you want that block, and then close your eyes. So I will say this, since I can't see you, and I might not know you. If you have high blood pressure, you shouldn't really be having the head lower than the heart. So in which case, I would slide that prop out from under the hips and just keep the hips on the earth. Or maybe you hug your knees in. But you know best, so I leave that to you. But remember, you certainly don't have to do everything offered in a yoga class. Do what's only right for you. So you could also try, if you want to, straightening out your legs in supported bridge. See if that feels good. It's either going to be a fabulous aha moment, or you might be thinking, no, I'm going back to where we started. So you decide. I want you to start to soften the body. You are so close to Shavasana. Start to allow the body to let go. There's no more work to be done here, so I want you just to focus on that breath, breathing in happiness, breathing in, the joy from all the cracked buckets in your life that have helped you grow flowers, right? We're just always looking for, I guess, a different perception, right? A different way to look at something. For instance, you'd sent my daughter to run an errand earlier, and she stopped by kind of a flowing river to watch a duck. She sent me a picture of it. And she was laughing because the duck was trying so hard to go in the opposite direction of the way the water was moving. And I texted her and I said, tell that poor little duck it's supposed to go with the flow of the water. And she texted back, heck, why doesn't it just fly? So there are so many ways around what you're seeing as an obstacle or challenge. If your mode of meditation, focusing on the breath, is not interesting to you, find something else. There's so many different ways that we can use our yoga tools to help us out. Take a deep breath in, hold it. Big exhale. Nice. Slowly, well, first, if you straighten out the legs, you're going to need to rebend them. Then lift the hips up. Slide your prop out from underneath you and hug the knees into the heart. Rock it out, side to side. Perfect. So heading into Shavasana, which is corpse pose, grab all your props, find a way to make them interesting to you. Don't allow Shavasana to get boring. You have so many different options of what you can do with those props. If you are, blankly looking at the camera going, what the heck is Shavasana? It's simply laying back, the legs open to the width of your mat, ankles fall open, arms are not touching the body, but they're alongside the body, palms are open, and then you can take your props and put them wherever you need them to be. You might want to cover up with the blanket, grab the dog, it might be your pillow. When you're ready, you're just going to close your eyes.
Begin to return your focus to your fascinating, ever-present breath. Begin to deepen the breath a little bit as you invite movement into the hands and the feet. Go ahead and stretch the arms. They could go overhead. They could reach out from the shoulders. Big stretch. And then relax the arms. Big stretch through the legs. And then relax. Take a deep inhale through the nose. Huge exhale. Perfect. And then staying right where you are. Inhale, open the arms out wide or overhead. As you exhale, bring the hands back into the heart in prayer pose. The light in me bows to the light in you. And when I'm in that place in me, and you're in that place in you, then we become one. Namaste.